Are the NPCs waking up?
Mr. Reagan.
You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart.
Hezbollah is very smart. That's the Republican candidate's position.
Lawrence, calling a person or a group of people very smart doesn't mean you're embracing them. For example, Iran made Joe Biden send them billions of dollars. Iran is smart. Joe Biden is dumb. Let me give you another one. MSNBC, your outlet, made half of the country believe in the Russia hoax. MSNBC is smart, but at the same time, you are still a fake news piece of shit outlet.
This video is genius. Of course, this is not the real news segment. That would be epic. No, this guy just spliced himself into this MSNBC segment to show what the segment should have been, what the appropriate response to Lawrence O'Donnell actually is, a response that you would never actually see on MSNBC. And this video has gone viral, as well it should, because it's hilarious and it's brilliant. In fact, I kind of hate this video because I didn't think of it myself. I am petty and spiteful like that. No, but this guy is spot on with his analysis. And what's interesting about this is that even Democrat voters, the staunch leftists who watch MSNBC, they seem to agree. I'm going to explain all of this in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. Do you want to take control of your financial future, but you don't know where to start? Noble Gold Investments understands. Investing in precious metals may sound confusing, but the team at Noble Gold Investments, they make it easy. Let's hear from some actual Noble Gold Investments customers. One customer says, the staff answered all my questions and helped me every step of the way. Another says, no pressure sales tactics, just honest guidance. And finally, securing my future is less stressful thanks to Noble Gold's expertise. So look, don't settle for financial uncertainty. They will suggest options and see if you can diversify into gold and silver. Right now, Noble Gold Investments is offering a free 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful bullion coin for qualified accounts. Don't settle for financial uncertainty. Noble Gold Investments has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. Why wait? Go to noblegoldinvestments.com right now, noblegoldinvestments.com, the only gold company that I trust. Now, I have to thank my brother John for recommending this video. This is all his idea, so thank you, Johnny. Now, look, occasionally a leftist realizes that the left is lying to them, and they realize that the right is telling them the truth. And in the old days, the days of, like, say, 2016, we used to call this getting red-pilled. The left took the term woke, which was supposed to be some kind of grammatically incorrect ghetto language descriptor for waking up to the truth that white people are deeply racist, as if this bigoted slander of the entire white race was somehow new. But the metaphor of waking up is actually quite a good one, and it's been used for at least 2,000 years. About Saul of Tarsus, St. Paul, the Bible, Acts 9:18 reads, and immediately there fell from his eyes as it had been scales, and he received sight forthwith, and arose and was baptized. And in that verse, Paul is literally regaining his sight. But it's obviously also a metaphor because at the same time, he's being given the understanding that he should follow Christ instead of persecuting him. He's finally understanding the world accurately. And a lot of us, I think, are baffled by the seeming inability for leftists to wake up to the truth of American politics, that corrupt leftists in the government are unjustly persecuting conservatives, trying to fix elections, crafting legislation to enrich themselves and their friends instead of benefiting the American people, literally taking bribes, and even sending money abroad that's triggering, funding, and perpetuating foreign wars. And of course, there are a million other problems with the Democrat Party and corrupt DC operatives that we who follow this stuff and care about it, that we see, but the Democrat voters are somehow oblivious to. And okay, yes, they trust the leftist news. And that's the main problem. Right? They cannot see that the leftist media is lying to them. They're like blind to that. They listen to Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid and Anderson Cooper, Lawrence O'Donnell, Joe Scarborough, Chris Hayes, Nicole Wallace, and they just say, well, these are serious journalists. They wouldn't lie to me. Because people have a dangerously distorted view of the media. Gullible Americans listen to the current pack of jackals in the mainstream media, and they attribute to them the journalistic ethics of 50 years ago. But these people have no journalistic ethics. These people are of a new school of journalism, which is Tell the people whatever it is that you want them to hear. Craft the narrative to manipulate the American people to believe whatever it is you want them to believe and to do whatever it is that you want them to do. Journalism today is pure manipulation. Nothing more, nothing less. And these so-called journalists today, they are using the trust that the American people have in journalists from 50 years ago, a trust that was established with careful adherence to journalistic ethics and standards for decades. They're using that in order to manipulate people, in order to lie to people, in order to keep the trust of people, even though they are clearly violating that trust, clearly lying to everyone. These con artists, they're using the trust that has been established in the media, in the news media for decades to deceive their audience. But still, their lies have become so obvious that it amazes us conservatives that the scales have yet to fall from the eyes of their viewers, of the readers of their newspapers. Well, maybe they're starting to. They're not so much getting red-pilled, but maybe Democrat voters, the viewers of MSNBC, maybe they're starting to wake up. Now, the original clip of Trump saying that Hezbollah is smart, not the comedy video, but the actual segment on MSNBC, the one that this guy spliced himself into, that video also went viral before this guy grabbed it and, worked his comedy magic. But what's fascinating is that it didn't go viral because leftists were shocked that Trump would say that Hezbollah is smart. It went viral because they were shocked that MSNBC would so absolutely distort the obvious intention of Trump's statement. This was a statement by Trump that even leftists who hate Trump understand. They weren't going along with MSNBC's nonsensical spin. It is maybe the first time that I've seen a critical mass of leftists actively speak out against leftist news propaganda. And it makes me wonder, have Democrat voters finally had enough of being lied to? Maybe so. This is the original video.
I'll never forget that Bibi Netanyahu let us down. That was a very terrible thing. I will say that. And so when I see sometimes the intelligence, you talk about the intelligence or you talk about some of the things that went wrong over the last week, they've got to straighten it out because they're fighting potentially a very big force. They're fighting potentially Iran. 2 nights ago, I read all of Biden's security people. Can you imagine? National defense people. And they said, gee, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack from the north because that's the most vulnerable spot. I said, wait a minute. Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart.
Ben Rhodes, Hezbollah is very smart. That's the Republican candidate's position.
He has no response to what's actually happening. It's just about him. He's referencing some past disagreement he had with Netanyahu. He's trying to, I guess, show off by talking about Hezbollah being smart. These are, terrorists with thousands of rockets pointed at Israel. What's truly scary to consider, though, is that he wants to be president again. And having someone with that absence of any depth of feeling or knowledge or strategy for how you would deal with a war that risks escalating in the Middle East, a war in Ukraine. I mean, he just proves every time he opens his mouth how unfit he is to make judgments about this and how much he doesn't really seem to care about the awful human toll that we've all been absorbing these last several days.
What do you think the feeling is in the Israeli government when they're facing what they're facing now and they hear Donald Trump say this? And I know how busy they are with more important things at the moment than what Donald Trump says. But 2 years from now, what Donald Trump says could be more important to them if he somehow wins the Electoral College again.
Well, I mean, I think what they're learning is essentially that Trump is no real friend. Trump is someone who says what he has to say to serve his own interests. Trump is somebody that is performative when he feels that he needs to be about support for Israel. But Trump is also someone, bear in mind, who says insane things like this. He's also someone who has dinner at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye West and Holocaust deniers.
Now, here's the irony of all of this. Trump actually remarked about the media criticizing him for saying that America's enemies are smart. He said this in the midst of his statement about Hezbollah being smart. Here, listen to the full statement from Trump, because the irony here is unbelievable.
And they said, gee, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack from the north because that's the most vulnerable spot. I said, wait a minute. You know, Hezbollah is very smart. They're all very smart. The press doesn't like when they say it. You know, I said that President Xi of China, 1.4 billion people, he controls it with an iron fist. I said, he's a very smart man. They killed me the next day. I said he was smart. What am I going to say? But Hezbollah, they're very smart. And they have a national defense minister or somebody saying, I hope Hezbollah doesn't attack us from the north. So the following morning they attacked. They might not have been doing it, but if you listen to this jerk, you would attack from the north because he said that's our weak spot. Whoever heard of officials saying on television that they hope the enemy doesn't attack in a certain area? Now, unless it's a con job. But you know what a con job is? You're waiting there ready. You want them if you want them, but they weren't ready. They weren't ready. You know, say what you want. Israel was not ready. This was a big surprise. This was a terrible thing that happened. They weren't ready.
And so Trump even ridicules the media for complaining that he has acknowledged that America's enemies can be smart, and yet they still complain about this as if Trump is somehow praising Hezbollah. Trump is obviously not praising Hezbollah. He's criticizing the stupidity of the Biden administration. He's saying, don't underestimate your enemies. And he should be saying this. He should be criticizing the Biden administration. And as I said, even leftists recognize this spin and they reject it. Obviously, there are a ton of Trump supporters in the comment section here, and they are absolutely livid at the absurdity of this reporting. And they are making tons of brilliant points. But you know, that's to be expected. Instead of looking at those, though, I want us today to have a look at how the leftists are reacting to MSNBC's spin in the comments section. Rainbow Soul Brother 9365, he writes, not to defend 45, but it looks like the video was edited as well as the headline to make it sound one way, but the reality is not what the headline's implication is, and not within the context of what Trump was trying to say. I believe that we should do the right thing and always utilize responsible journalism. This guy is so, I feel bad for this guy. What a naive guy. I mean, the fact that he's waking up to this is just beautiful, but like, it's kind of funny actually, because it's like basically we've been screaming from the rooftops for years. But anyway, he goes on. Obviously, those with cognitive dissonance will want to hear and believe what they want. For our society to become better, we must be truthful in the media and not twist words. The headline is misleading. Well, you know what, Rainbow Soul Brother? That is a brilliant statement. You are that is, you know, I don't know you. I don't know. We probably disagree on a lot of political stuff, but we agree on that. And if you only understood that the mainstream media lied to you about 90% of the time about anything political, I mean, it's amazing to me that people don't see that. But the fact that he's seen it here, this could be a turning point in the man's life. And I love that. Now, in response to his statement, I'm not a Trump supporter, but don't make us look at you sideways for misrepresenting his words. And Forrest G responded, this is a rational perspective. Thank you for spitting facts. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. We can all call out fraudulent journalism when we see it. And boy, oh boy, do I love the fact that these guys have acknowledged this and are calling it out. I hope that in the future, they open their mind to the possibility that a lot more of what's being told to them on MSNBC is also twisted and basically deceptive. User DV9TS5WB8J wrote, I'm no Trump supporter, but his comment that Hezbollah is smart was in the context of the Biden administration saying, we hope Hezbollah does not attack from the north of Israel. What he was saying, not very clearly, was that Hezbollah was listening and that the Biden administration comment could induce such an attack. Absolutely right. Well discovered. HNAF6279. I don't know why these users have all these crazy names. Anyway, this guy writes, I don't support Trump, but I don't think he's praising Hezbollah. He's simply saying you can't underestimate their capabilities. Exactly right. Capital B5889 wrote, Trump may be an awful person, but this was accurate. Perhaps if he said cunning, instead, it might have avoided misinterpretation. You know, that's actually true. Maybe that's a bit of good advice for Donald Trump. Maybe he should say cunning instead of smart. But I think that the left would still go after him. NANR1SX wrote, I would not vote for Trump, for the record. Trump did not praise Hamas when he said they are smart. He meant that they are clever and that they are capable of devious acts. This is one time I'm sticking up for the ex-president. I emphasize the term one time. He has done enough bad. The left-wing media does not have to create more. out of nothing. The other things Trump said in that segment were way off base for sure, but he was not praising. And it's funny because this person has been absolutely convinced that, Trump says all these bad things, and this person's obviously interpreting the rest of the speech as bad. But maybe this moment will make them think, oh, maybe some of this other stuff is being misinterpreted. Like, I think Trump is very difficult for leftists to accurately interpret what he says because they have such a negative view of Trump that they automatically perceive everything Trump says as negative. So this is one time when what Trump said was so absolutely clear that you couldn't really misinterpret it. And still MSNBC tried. And that's why they're getting this kind of backlash. And somebody called Posh2384 wrote, I swear they'll twist anything he says at this point. I don't even support Trump. But what he said was reasonable and not controversial whatsoever. Yet these bozos are trying to make something out of nothing. And this, to me, this Posh guy, this is the biggest statement that I was able to read here. Because, look, I don't know if this guy's a DeSantis supporter or a Biden supporter or a Bernie bro. I don't know what he is. But he's acknowledging this, not as a unique incident of media deception, but as a pattern. And that is what gives me real hope. If this guy's a leftist, and I really hope he is, then this is a fantastic sign that leftists are waking up. Deep down, I think that there are a lot of men, Democrat men, who are waking up, but they're just afraid to say anything, right? They're afraid to even stop supporting leftist stuff and actively criticizing Donald Trump, right? I think that a lot of left-wing men feel like if they go to a dinner party, they basically have to say bad things about Trump and say good things about Biden and the Democrat Party. I think that they feel like they have to do that. And if they don't, they'll be ostracized from society. And I've definitely noticed that that is extremely common here in Sweden. I'll be sitting with a group of people, some men, some women, and someone, usually one of the girls, will ask me as an American about some political issue or something, right? They don't even know what my job is, but they just, oh, you're an American. What do you think of Trump? That kind of thing. And I try to get out of answering the question because, I don't want to ruin the night. But me trying to avoid answering the question just makes everybody want to talk about it more. So eventually we get into it. And I've noticed that everything I say, doesn't matter what the political point is that I'm making, every single point that I make, the guys in the group, all the Swedish guys, they will kind of get this sly smile on their face, like they're all basically agreeing with me, but they know they can't say it. The girls, on the other hand, they all look like I just shot their mother. But then the guys will tell me privately, look, man, I actually agree with you about all of this, but I cannot say this in Sweden. I mean, it is insane. Stockholm is a whole society of super ignorant, but super arrogant feminist women and super beta males who just go along with their crap. And maybe that's too harsh of an observation about this country, about this city. And maybe it's an oversimplification, but I think it's a pretty damn good generalized description of Stockholm, I would say. Now, there's one girl that I've been hanging out with over here, and she's a lot more in the middle. She's from a much more conservative part of Stockholm in the north. And, she's been exposed to some more conservative ideas over here. And, look, not everybody in Sweden is crazy, but yeah, it's pretty bad here. But look, this is the Democrat Party in America exactly, right? Ignorant, arrogant feminists and the bitch boys who follow them around like obedient dogs. And then there's also, of course, the special interest groups that, that the Democrats favor, the LGBTQ groups, whatever ethnic minority groups they can trick into thinking they want to help, labor unions, immigrants, environmental activists, vegans, etc. And, that's how Democrats win elections. But I do think the men who are, very beta, follow the feminists around, repeat whatever they say, I think these are the people that we can flip to become a little bit more conservative, because I think that men typically find it offensive if the media is obviously lying to them. And it is a real struggle. It is a real struggle trying to talk sense into Democrat voters, because typical Democrat voters, especially women, but sometimes the men as well, they are not convinced by logic or reason. Leftists tend to be influenced by emotion. If they hear a sob story, or if you appeal to their ego or their sense of social justice or whatever, if you convince them that you are fighting for civil rights or women or immigrants or some other so-called vulnerable minority, they will basically go along with whatever you tell them. They will drink the Kool-Aid. They'll push all their chips in. They will buy everything you are selling. And Democrat politicians, they know this, and they've been leveraging these emotional, gullible Americans for years. And we conservatives, just spitting facts and logic, we've never been able to gain all that much ground with these people. No matter how much we are right about something, it doesn't really matter. An emotional, gullible leftist convinced that they're right. If they are convinced that they're right, they will fight to the death. They will be screaming and yelling that we are wrong. But maybe, just maybe, the leftist media is starting to turn these diehard leftists themselves. Like the leftist media may be turning them. It may be that they have been so successful for so long, like Democrat politicians, Democrats in the media, they've been so successful lying to their side that they become a bit careless. And maybe, just maybe, they're now lying to their audiences so blatantly and so disrespectfully that even these gullible, emotional voters are saying, wait a minute, I get that you like to spin things, but this is actually getting really flippin' disrespectful. Like, how stupid do you think we are? Because, yeah, I know I'm talking mostly about men, but no one wants to be treated like an idiot, okay? And maybe leftists, Democrat voters, MSNBC viewers of every stripe, gay, black, immigrant, male, female, whatever, maybe they're all starting to wake up just a little bit to the reality that leftist media and Democrat politicians do not actually respect them. These people think they're idiots, useful idiots, and nobody appreciates being dismissed as an idiot. And so maybe this will be the one thing that turns them. So next time you're talking to a leftist about the media, don't tell them that they're stupid for believing the people on MSNBC. Tell them that the folks at MSNBC think they're stupid, too stupid to realize that they're lying to them, too stupid to double check on their reporting, too stupid to think for themselves. And maybe that is how we win. Maybe we just let the media drive their own audience away by going a step too far. Well, that's it for me. Remember to buy all of my merchandise. It helps to support the channel, and it also makes you look awesome. The link is in the description below. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much that is not so. Good night.
Together, with God's help, we can and will resolve the problems which now confront us. And after all, why shouldn't we believe that? We are Americans.